I have the honor and responsibility of introducing a dear friend to the school who needs no introduction, but introduction I must do. When I think of Michael, I think of many, many things. He is a talented, gifted artist, and like our artist on staff, I have the greatest respect, since I am not an artist. Maybe even if I were an artist, I probably have the greatest respect for artists, because they connect us to a deeper reality, a broader reality that often will elude us. So in thinking about Michael, I was thinking about something that Samuel Taylor Coleridge talked about, negative capabilities, which is the ability to suspend disbelief, to understand that there's more than what we see there. And that is the task of the artist, and Michael has done it. He's allowed me to see the beauty of in particular of our students, that I know was always there, but in a new and spectacular light, and also with shadow. And speaking of shadow, I think of Michael and his artistry. I think of Junichiro Tanizaki, an architect who talked about the Japanese aesthetic. And I think it particularly applies to Michael's work, and it resonates in his beautiful description of his work, his mission statement. Tanizaki said, "We find beauty not in the thing itself, but in the patterns of shadow, the light and the darkness, that one thing between another, one thing against another creates." And that's the magic of his photography. It's the magic of his presence. Michael has been by my side at the school side at our biggest and most beautiful moments, and captures it for eternity. And again, allows us to see ourselves in a different light. I love the quotation from Rolling Stone magazine, Michael. It says, "If enduring photography is based not only on technique, but real feeling, then Michael Priest is the real thing, an artist with vision, empathy, and soul." That person really captured so beautifully who Michael has been for the school, for me as a friend. And I just want to say a few more things, Michael, that are in your mission. Some of the language. I mean, you talk about life force, you talk about reflection of excitement, you talk about inspiration, which is the taking in of the breath. And you say that you let that inspiration lead you. You talk about being astounded. You talk about a sense of wonder. You talk about a sense of surprise, this beautiful feeling of the Zen beginner's mind, which only the expert has, which is this openness to experience into the present moment. And then you said this beautiful thing I never heard too, but capturing images by painting them with light. And so you've painted us with light and with shadow, and got us to see the better angels of ourselves. So I speak on behalf of everyone who's been in your presence and in front of your camera, for showing those things to us. And I thank you for showing up today and bringing light to your craft and to our school this morning. The wonderful artist and the school's dear friend, my dear friend, Michael Priest.
Well, thank you, Ivan. Thank you. I very much appreciate that, very much. And let me start off by just saying that, there are a lot of forces and life forces and things, and when I go back and think about a lot of my purpose for photography and things that I do, really what keeps coming back to me, which may sound strange to you guys, a lot of is the East Harlem School, because it's been such a big part of my life, and I've been privileged and honored to be such a part of it. And as Ivan mentioned, to be by his side, for over 20 years. There are so many things that encapsulates my belief in being a photographer and an artist in what I do, whether it's, meditation, which is what you guys do, or whether it's, taking a moment of silence, or whether it's, having circle or community or whatever it is. And just a lot of the things, it's a part of kind of my life as I've grown up, and it's become a part of my life professionally. And there are so many things that I feel like relate, with what you guys do in your school to what I do professionally. And I really think they kind of complement each other really nicely. So I've really had the privilege, and it's been an honor for me to be the staff artist photographer, and really kind of capture years and years of the students and the teachers and the soul of the school, and really to try and do that. And I love it. I really do. It's been wonderful for me. And, I think an example of the day in the life of what we've done over the last few years is it's great. So it means so much to me. And I've said this before, but I really want you all to know, I mean, it's a really special place, and I've felt it since day one. And like I said, I just feel so privileged and happy. And like I said, I've been looking forward when Ottomans and I asked me and said, so how's your morning going? I said, it's fantastic. It's great. I mean, it's Friday, but also I've been looking forward to this Friday for a very long time. I'm super excited and psyched to talk to everyone, and I love the school, so it's great. So this is a great way to start my Friday. So yeah, I wanted to start with that, and then I guess I can talk a little bit about I guess how it all started, before the East Harlem School, and kind of what got me going. And I think, like so many things, when you're growing up and, you take interest in certain things. And for me, I can remember as far back, I think I was about 8 years old. So just to tell you a little bit about my roots. I was born in Dallas, Texas, and I moved around a bit as a child because of my dad's job. He was kind of a traveling book salesman when he started off, so we kind of were moving around. My origins, my mom's side is from Spain, and my mom was born in this country, so I never had a chance to really experience too much of my culture, or I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, but it was very much in my blood and a part of me, which I'll talk about in a little while. So I remember when I was about 8, and I first had an opportunity. I was very involved in sports, and that was a big interest of mine, and just being athletic and doing things. And it may have not even been team sports. It may have been like just gymnastics and just things that I could do to express movement physically with, and I remember thinking, the idea of freezing a moment and wanting to constantly do that. And I remember when I had an opportunity and I first went to a day camp, I remember, just seeing visual moments of like my peers as they were running or jumping or doing things, and thinking, wow, I really want to freeze that. I want to stop a moment in action. I've always had this fascination with time and trying to be able to stop or freeze time, which obviously we can't really do, but you can do in a photograph. So for me, that became, I think, a way to kind of do that and stop time for a split second. So I started off, I can remember going to camp and telling my peers to jump off their bed and say, okay, I'm going to count to 3 and jump, and I'm going to get you right in midair. And I remember like when the moment happened, and you went and you looked at your camera, or at that time it was negatives. It wasn't even digital. So we had to wait. But when you knew and you saw the moment and you're like, okay, you're not in your bed, you're not on the floor, you're in the air, and I captured that. It was just kind of a cool thing. It was very basic, but kind of a cool thing when you're a little kid, even now. So that kind of passion or hobby kind of turned into a real desire to I think to take it to a new level, and I love people, and I love being around people, and I love interacting, which is another reason why COVID's been tough, because you've got to really be behind screens and stuff. Thank God for this, right? For Zooming and all this, because it gets us close. But in terms of being able to interact, it was kind of a good method for me to be able to do that. And a tool was, I really like photographing a lot of things, but I think I really like to, it's kind of a way of helping out, whether it's trying to make someone look good or capture an idea or do something like for the school, tell a story and document something and say, what can we show to say that really tells what this place is or who these people are, or what this is. So when I was in college, I went to the University of Vermont. Before I went, I just needed some time, I think, to kind of figure out what I really wanted to do. I knew I wanted to learn, and I had a real drive and passion, but I just felt at the time it wasn't at the university or at college. So I ended up, I remember I spent a summer working my butt off and saving as much money as I could. And then I had the opportunity, and I basically bought a plane ticket to move to Spain. And I had an opportunity to live with some of my family, my kind of cousins of my grandparents before they passed. And that was super meaningful for me, because literally what I did was, I went out and bought a camera, my first professional camera, and a flash and a couple of lenses, and just moved to Spain. And basically my goal was, I know I had to continue to learn. I enrolled in a school there, basically, and my goals were, I wanted to discover my roots, learn Spanish, and also see where my camera takes me. And I think, that's where things really took off and my passion really started. And it opened up a lot of different windows for me and things. And, when I returned and finished college and got my degree, photography became part of, I was a double major, and photography became my minor. And then from that point, things just kind of started. My first real photography job, which actually is my longest standing job, which has evolved into, I started off doing, it was portraiture and working with people, but it started off doing, working with the United States Paralympic ski team. And in fact, to this day, there are 4 official photographers of the Paralympic ski team, and I'm one of them. So the other 3 are actually in Beijing right now, and they're working with them, or they're going to be going there. I kind of holding down my fort here in New York, but as I do every year, the end of April, when things are over, they have kind of final end of the year races, and they meet with their sponsors and everything. And I go and I spend anywhere from as little as 1 to sometimes 3 weeks, and I photograph all the athletes. I work with them. I work with their sponsors, and it's an amazing thing, because these people, these athletes, they're blind. Some of them have quadriplegic. They have no legs or no arms, and they're skiers, and they're managing to do this, but at a level that is higher than any that we all know. And it's amazing. So I feel, again, very privileged and lucky to have been able to, have that and say that that's one of a big job I do out there. So that's something that's been great. And I do a lot of work with in terms of photography. What else I do? So as I mentioned, I do a lot of work with people, but it's many different genres. It could be anything from, I do a lot of work with nonprofit. I work with corporations. I work with models and celebrities. I photographed a lot of different people that, pop icons, I've just from doing different things. And unfortunately, I know photography is so visual, and I was going to say, I had planned on showing a lot of things, but one of the things that happens with digital photography is we have so much information that gets stored and stored and stored. And I have a service where I have terabytes and terabytes. So every so often, what's called the server gets cleaned, where they have to kind of manage all of our storage and everything that we do. And they're in the process of doing that. So I don't have very much to show everyone now. But at some point, you know, I would, if you would welcome me, I would love to, whether I come to the school or whatever, I would love to put together like a slideshow of, and just show everyone photos, whether it's photos of people in different aspects or landscapes or things that I, you know, had put together, but I would love to show more of. But now I think it's important. I just want to, you know, let you know and talk a little bit about me, and then, you know, and find out more about anyone that has questions or you know, if anyone has interest. And another thing too, which, you know, I've often thought about at some point, you know, I'm often at the school and, you know, I'm obviously photographing and doing things for the school. And one of the things, if ever there would be a time or an interest, you know, if it's possible, I would love to, whether it be a field trip, even if we just go over to, where was it? Randall's Island? Where do we go? Where they play? It was Randall. Yeah, Randall's. Maybe we go and I bring a couple of cameras or something, and we have like a little photo outing or something, and I can kind of give you my cameras and say, all right, I want you guys to do, I'm going to jump rope now. I'm going to do things. I'm going to show you what to do. And now let's see what you guys can do. It could be a fun, you know, just an activity or something. So, you know, I guess what photography has enabled for me is it's given me like a tool to really, you know, kind of follow my lead and my passion of wanting to help people, but in a way with pictures and kind of tell moments and stories. And you know, it's obviously it's been you know, a journey. It's not easy being a photographer and doing it as a, you know, professionally. It's right there with being a professional musician or an actor, or because, you know, you are an artist, and it's a difficult thing, you know, to really do. It's not I don't want to say typical, because it is common and there are a lot of photographers, but it can be difficult, and it has been. But like anything, you know, whatever you're going to do, and I think you guys will find out. I know you know this now from being at school. What you put into something, when you work hard, you're going to get something out of it. Even if you fail a test and you worked hard, you still are getting something out of it. You're still learning something, and you're learning what you can do better the next time. So for me, if I have to work hard in something, which obviously we all do, for me, I've gotten a lot of gratification from being able to work hard in something that, you know, I've been passionate about. And I've been fortunate that, you know, I've stuck with it, and, you know, it's been able to allow me to be successful, you know, and not always, but most of the time. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I can share in terms of
Michael, it is beautiful and brilliant, and Cindy will correct me or interrupt me, and they've all read your bio, but I just want to say they've got some fantastic questions. You know, they know that your work is taking you from, you know, corporate settings here in Manhattan to Tanzania and Kenya, and so they're raring to go to ask you some questions. It would be an honor to welcome you back and maybe take them on a field trip. That would be amazing, where they can learn some of your art and some of the craft. But Ms. Sanchez thinks it makes sense, Michael. We'll go to these magnificent eighth graders and their questions. They're deeply impressed with you, and it's wonderful to hear in a more textured way for me about your beautiful life.
Well,
Ms. Sanchez, what do you think?
Yes, yes, we can begin with the questions. Our first question comes from Valeria.
Hi, Valeria.
Hello, good morning. First, I would like to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. You know, like I said, it means if probably more to me than it does to you guys for me to be here in front of you. So thank you. I feel privileged and honored, really.
Thank you. So I read in your biography, you consider yourself an emotional photographer. Can you tell us a little bit about what it means to you to be an emotional photographer?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think it comes with, as a person, I've always been an emotional person. I feel feelings, which is, I guess, something you're kind of born with, whether it's, deep love or deep, or happiness or disappointment or loss, or whatever. I feel things kind of to the max, and it's just something that has always been a part of me, and emotion is something that I think, especially when I'm photographing people, say, as opposed to a landscape or something, there's something, I think the emotion comes through in many aspects. When I'm photographing someone, there's just a lot of feeling that comes from inside of me. And it's not just like, for example, if I'm photographing a person, okay, stand right here, let's turn to the left, let's turn to the right, I'm gonna do this. I think there's more of a, who is this person? What is this person about? What are they thinking? Where are they? Where do they come from? What's more about them? Like, what are they, is there sadness? Is there happiness? So all these things go through my head, really, like when I have someone in front of me, even if it's you guys, I think about all this stuff. And I think what happens is when I go to then, take a picture or make a picture, with my camera, all this is going on. So when I'm taking it, I'm looking for things that maybe someone else doesn't see and I see. And I think it could help to create a better moment. Or if I'm photographing someone, and it could be a CEO of a company, of a high-powered company, or it could be, it could be someone on the street who I don't know. It's trying to kind of get into their head, their body, or their soul, and just kind of feel with what emotion comes up, and then to kind of take a moment and capture that moment, with my camera, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Our next question.
That's a great question.
Yes, our next question comes from Sanai.
Hi, Sanai.
Hello again. So I learned that you graduated from the University of Vermont with a degree in Spanish and International Studies. So I was wondering, how has Spanish helped in your photography work?
Man, you guys, that's such a good question too. I mean, everything. It's a great question. I am always impressed with all of you, and I have been for a long time. It's amazing. So Spanish is really, like I said, I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, but when I went to Spain, it really, like, within 3 months, it was like, I'm speaking Spanish, and by all means, I feel like when I speak, I have a funny American accent and I don't whatever, but the reality is I know Spanish, I speak it, it's a part of me, it's a part of who I am. And it has allowed me to do a lot actually. And as so many of you know, because I know so many of you speak Spanish and, come from Spanish origins, which is amazing. And through my travels or through my backyard, like right here in New York, I have been able to have that many more clients and to, be able to do that much more work, whether it's in another country or whether it's here, because I can speak Spanish, and it allows me to communicate with that many more people. And there's been so many instances where I've done a shoot, whether it's been, like I said, here, or whether it's been in Spain, or whether it was in Costa Rica, or whether it was in another Spanish speaking country. I've been to Cuba a couple of times, and I've had a couple of different shoots. I've been there on an assignment, and it's really, it's gotten me into situations where I've been able to take things to a new level. Like just an example, when I was in Cuba and I was photographing there, I was in many different barrios, and there are areas where you wouldn't necessarily want to go with your camera and your camera gear and so forth. But I think being able to really communicate with people and speak their language and my language, it really enabled me to go into people's homes, literally, to do things that I, needed to do or wanted to do with a job. So it's really been a huge asset. So I think a language is amazing, and for me, there's nothing more amazing than Spanish. Just, like I said, I don't need to tell everyone here, just think about how many people speak Spanish in our country, and think about all the different, parts of our country with the names, that have Spanish names or origins. So it's great. And it's a part of my, kind of daily life. So.
Thank you. As a Spanish teacher, I love hearing that. How Spanish opens
sure
so many doors.
Yeah, Miss Sanchez, I'm sure you do. Exactly. So that means listen to Miss Sanchez. And she knows what she's talking about.
Okay, our next question comes from Rigel.
Hi, Rigel, how are you? I think you're muted.
Good morning.
Good morning, there you go.
I read in your bio that you like taking pictures of nature in the natural world. My question for you is, do you have a specific place or places where you like to take photos? If so, why?
Great question too. So I do, and there's a lot of, there are several areas. I think, for me, there's a couple of places that I've been to. I mean, there are so many places I want to go to that I think will, be majestic and amazing and whatever. But in terms of where I've been and what I've done, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, there, and outside of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, there's a mountain range there, right, called the Tetons, right? There's the Teton Range. And it's kind of part of the Rocky Mountains, and that for me, I spent a bunch of time doing kind of brochures and some different work there. Now I've been doing that for like about 20 years as well, and I go back every couple of years or every few years, and for me that's been an amazing place. Just I think with the mountains and the clouds and the topography and just it's a pretty majestic place. It's about as close as you can get to, I guess, Alaska, which I've actually never been to without having been there in our country. It's, whether it's in the winter or the summer, there's just, there's something about it that has always meant a lot to me, and capturing, I think the light with the mountains and the clouds, and even if there's foregrounds, whether it's wild horses or different kinds of wildlife, that's there. That's one place. Another place is kind of anywhere where there's an ocean. I enjoy kind of capturing beach scenes and settings, but particularly like with silhouettes involved, and things like, for example, I've spent some time in Israel and in Tel Aviv, which is a coastal city there. I've had the opportunity I was photographing some fishermen, and it was not just about the sunset, but it was the silhouettes that they created in front of the sunset and kind of what that meant. So that's been a very meaningful place in terms of photographing both nature and people. So those are two places that really come to mind. Spain as well, whether it's been in the cities or whether it's been in the country there. There have been, whether it's architecture or whether it's been, again, landscape, it's been a very important part of me, which I think, gives me a chance to express through my camera again. And there is a way, like when you're photographing, I guess, whether it's a person versus, a natural setting, when you're photographing a natural setting, it's kind of in front of you like a person is, but there are so many different ways to photograph it. So it's like you're making a photo because you can photograph it and expose it in a way so you see exactly what the human eye sees, but you could also photograph it in a way so that it appears darker or it appears lighter. So I think that means a lot too, just to kind of play with that. So yeah, and truthfully, in New York, at times, it's kind of nice to just walk around and remember my roots and get a chance to kind of photograph and just kind of stare. And whether it's in Washington Square Park, or whether it's up in the cloisters, or whether it's somewhere, I think there's just been a lot of meaning in those particular places. So that's a great question.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Ruth.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi, good morning. What challenges did you face when trying to establish yourself as a successful photographer, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Start over with the beginning, just the first part.
What challenges did you face when trying to establish yourself as a successful photographer, and how did you overcome these challenges?
That's a great question too. So for starters, the challenges never stop. I'm always overcoming challenges, and I think it's one of those things where I think just being, I think in many things, but I feel like especially being a photographer, the challenges never stop, especially if you're doing it, because when you're a photographer, there's a couple of things. As a photographer, first and foremost, I'm an artist. But in order to be successful and say, this is how I want to make a living, I need to, make money to provide. I have a family, I have 2 little kids, and so you need to also make a business out of it. So what is interesting about being a photographer, which is one of the difficult things, say, is if you were a doctor, or if you were just a business person of some sort, or I guess another field. When you're an artist or a photographer, you're very left-brained, which means, right, you're more of it artsy and you think about things. But in order to be successful, you really have to be right-brained too, which is kind of the business side of things. So it's kind of molding 2 worlds of art and business and putting them together, which is a constant challenge and a struggle at times, and especially first starting off, because for me, photography came natural and I studied photography, but I didn't study business, in school. Obviously, there were classes I took and things, but it's really been a clinic of just kind of going through life and learning about the business side of what is going to make things successful so that I can be a photographer and have my own business. So I think for me, what I'm proud of and what I've been able to overcome is I've spent a lot of time reading books on law and how to do contracts, because you have to do contracts with photography when you deal with clients and things, and how to come up with pricing and how to figure out rights and usage of photos and things like that. So that's been a huge, and that to this day, every day, it's a struggle and a challenge, but I've been able to learn and overcome that, and just kind of learn to use the right side of my brain more. Is it, like I said, it's a constant thing that I'm dealing with. And listen, the art side too, but it's something that I have overcome, but I'm constantly, struggling with that. But at the same time, I've overcome a lot of it to be able, to get to where I am today. And I'm learning every day, so great question.
Up next, we have Aiden.
You said, is it Eden?
Aiden.
Hi, Aiden. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
What is your favorite part about being the photographer for the East Harlem School?
Ah, that's a great question. There are so many things. I think my favorite part is I get to be at the school, because doing photography, it's not one of those things. Listen, for me, like, I remember, I think when I was talking to Anna, to Miss Warren, I was like, so can I come over and can I hang out maybe a little bit in the green room? And it was like, well, we kind of just do this virtually. And I was like, oh, okay. So for me, being able to come to the school and be in front of you and you in front of me and be, have a presence, that's super meaningful. And then being able to capture moments with my camera again, and, kind of document and help tell a story and, create moments. It means a ton to me, honestly, when when we, which you guys have all kind of been a part of, because I've done it this year, when I come and do kind of a day in the life, of what happens at the East Harlem School, and I have an opportunity and a job for that matter to capture things with my camera. It's great. It's amazing, because I get a chance to really to look into your souls, if you will, to see what you guys are thinking and what learning is like. And maybe it's just for that particular day, but it gives me a real good sense of things and who everyone is and where you come from. And it's a great reminder and of how much the school means to me. And so I love coming there, whether it's like photographing you guys in an art class, or whether it's in the Spanish class with Ms. Sanchez, or whether it's doing something with Ivan, or whether it's going to Randall's Island, or whether it's being in the back and climbing on the bars, or running, or doing different things, and being physical, or whether it's thinking and meditating, right? And you're not moving. There's always something. There's like an energy, and there's a feeling that I get from you guys that I'm drawn to, that makes me not only want to be there, but it makes me want to say, you know what, I really want to show what this place is about and document it. And it's wonderful that, I can incorporate, being your East Harlem School photographer and staff resident artist, if you will, to, along with what I like to do. So it's great.
Sounds great. We love every time you come visit us.
Well, thank you. And I do too. So thank you.
Our next question comes from Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Photography is an art form that can be used as a form of self-expression. What are some things you hope to express through your pictures?
Thank you. That's a great question too. So I think first and foremost is feeling. I want to express feeling. Again, it depends on what the job is. If I'm kind of capturing a portrait of someone, and say it's a model, a beautiful man or a beautiful woman, and it might be for a magazine, or it might be for their own portfolio. I think sometimes you want to capture reality, of what that person looks like, but you want to capture a feeling too. You want to capture, you want to be able to tell a story in certain things too. And I think that's really important to make sure that you can, that I can accomplish that, and there are many different ways of doing that. So again, this can vary depending on who the subject is, or what I'm photographing, and in terms of like what feeling or what I need to accomplish. So there are many things that come with that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Next, thank you. Our next question comes from Donna.
Hi.
Hey,
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What is one thing you wish you knew about photography when you first started?
Say that again. Sorry, speak up just a little bit.
What is one thing you wish you knew about photography when you first started?
What is something that I wished that you mean something that I wanted to do when I first
No,
started?
what is something that you wished you had known
Oh, wished I had known. Sorry.
when you first started out?
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So I think one of the things I wished I had known, well, I think there's two things. One is I think I wished I would have known in order to really do it and say be successful and just, make a living as a photographer. I think I would have wished I would have known more about business and more about how to run a business and how that all works, because running a business is something entirely different than being a photographer, which is weird because being a photographer is running a business, but just from the business side of it, I wish I would have known more about that, about how that all works. And I feel like if I had known that ahead of time, I may have spent more time trying to really learn that and not just, I still would have jumped in, so to speak, with my camera. But I think if I would have known that, I think it would have changed my perspective. Maybe I would have been a little more patient, and maybe I wouldn't have struggled as much when I first started, because I would have either known, okay, well, this is what I need to learn for business, or had I known the business side of things, I think it would have, been easier in a way. So I think that's the main thing. Because part of me thinks, well, if I would have known ahead of time how difficult it was going to be a photographer, and how many hours and how much time I was going to have to put into it, maybe I wouldn't have done it. But on the other hand, I think I always would have done it. So that's a really good question too. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to be mindful of your time, and I just wanted to know if you had time for 2 more questions.
I've got as many. I'm here. So as much time as you have for me and me to grace, and for you to allow me to be a part of your morning and day, I'm here. So I'm all ears and everything.
Thank you. We have a question from Cardine next.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. You have had a successful photograph career. What has been the most memorable photo shoot that you have ever done?
That's a great question. I was wondering if I was going to get asked that. The most memorable photo shoot I've ever done. Well, let's say when we do the day in the life at the East Harlem School, that's really memorable. It is. I don't know if there's one most memorable that I've ever done. I mean, I think maybe, I've had a few, and I've been fortunate enough. And the first time I went to Africa, when I was in Kenya and Tanzania, and I was photographing and doing pictures and things for a brochure, and for travel agency type things, that was kind of a shoot of a lifetime. There were so many things that I did, and it was just such a different world, and that had just the whole, I guess, experience from kind of start to finish, had a lot of memory, just with the different kind of trials and tribulations and different things of getting there and then being there, and some of the places I went, and some of the animals I encountered, and some of the things that kind of happened. And it's kind of, I don't even have time to tell all the, some of the stories, but that was, I've done a lot of things and had a lot of chance to, to photograph some very meaningful people, and whether they've been politicians or some different, I guess, important people in our culture and our world, and there isn't really one particular, I think, other than if I'm thinking of, being the first time I went to Africa, which just, I guess it was the whole experience of it. But there are so many things that have really, taken on so much meaning, and as like, wow, this is amazing that I'm doing this. And I really, honestly, for me, staying in the moment, and really, it's like there's a saying, you can think about tomorrow, you can remember yesterday, but you really live today, right? So for me, my motto and what I really do is I live today, and I really think about, so I guess that kind of goes with when I'm doing a shoot and I think back at all my different shoots, I think each one had a lot of different meaning. Obviously some have more than others, but it's, I think if that kind of helps answer the question a little bit.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Elijah.
Hi, Elijah.
Hi. I'd like to thank you for being our virtual speaker series for today.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
And my question for you is, what advice do you have for someone interested in getting into photography?
Great question. So a couple of things. I mean, first and foremost is get your hands on a camera of some sort, and if it can be anything, probably something a little different than a phone, like a phone camera. I would say like a real camera. And, it doesn't have to be any particular kind, because I think, and quite honestly, even if you don't have that opportunity to get your hands on a camera, and you do have a phone, I mean, that is one of the things about phones today, at least there's a camera aspect of it. And I think taking pictures and experimenting and taking lots of pictures is the first way to start, and just kind of see where that takes you and what you enjoy doing, what kind of pictures you like to take, how it makes you feel, what kind of things you enjoy doing, whether it's people or landscapes or both, or whether it's a certain kind of thing. And then I think it's being a little bit more aware of those pictures and how are they coming out, and what do you see in them, and what, emotionally, how does it make you feel? But then from an aesthetic point, what does it look like? And is there a way, how come if I'm seeing this beautiful sunset and the colors and I'm taking a picture of it, why doesn't it look like that? What, I don't understand. I'm seeing these beautiful colors, but my camera isn't showing me that. So then it's kind of taking it to a level of saying, well, I want to learn now, how do I either capture the reality of what I'm seeing, or how do I alter it a little bit with taking a picture and say, well, I want to make this color look a little darker or a little lighter or whatever. So that's the first and foremost thing. And really try and enjoy it, and have fun with it. Because like anything, if you're not enjoying it, you're not having fun with it, it's going to make things more difficult to do. And I know, we don't always enjoy everything we do, but I guess one of the things about when you do need to get a job and you work, it's kind of like starting over. You finish school and now you have an opportunity, or hopefully, you're going to try and make an opportunity to do different things. So see if it's something you enjoy. And if you do, and once you start taking more and more pictures, then try and learn a little bit about, well, what does it mean then to be a photographer, and how do I actually make money, or how can I make money if I'm doing this? And that's where the business side of things come. And again, it's not all about money in any way, shape, or form, but it's just in terms of if you wanted to become a photographer like anything else, whether you're a teacher or whether you are in any job that you do, right? The idea of doing it is there's many different things, but one of the things obviously is the aspect of making a living doing it. So I think learning business side of things would be good too. So that's something that would come secondary. I think the first would be to have an opportunity to just take pictures and then learn about what that means and what creates a picture, and learning how to do that, and then seeing how you feel, and then learning and going from there and sticking with it. You know, because it's not easy. I will say this for anyone who ever asks and says, "Oh, I really want to be a photographer," and you know, and I see that they have camera equipment and they make great pictures and do things. You know, my first question is, you know, are you really, how dedicated are you? And just know it's not going to be all glamorous. You know, it's not like it's just saying, oh, you're an artist. There's a lot to it. So there's just kind of that reality of knowing that, I think, too.
Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
going to ask Zanai to lead us in a moment of silence again, and to take in everything that you've shared with us. And then Ivan will offer his final remarks.
Great, thank you.
1, 2, 3. One, two, three.
Thank you, Zanai.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Michael Priest. I spoke to a friend I think it was a month ago, and she said in her tradition, the world is healed by one person at a time. And your images are so beautiful, and also the presence behind the camera. But in many ways, you heal and repair the world one image at a time through your magical play of painting with light and showing us at our best. You see, we were at our best for you this morning. The 8th graders were excited to have you, and they rose to your wonderful presence and your artistry and work. And so what a joy to see you, Michael. I learned a little bit more about you, and I look forward for you to joining us again. And I think I've told you, but you know, I am eternally grateful over these decades for your friendship, and by bringing our quiet little part of Spanish Harlem to light into the world, like you've done for all the wonderful people that you've connected to the world through your work. So thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, as am I grateful. And again, it means so much to me to have been, you know, to have you and have a friendship that we have, and to be able to have the opportunity to you know, to capture moments and show moments, and really just show the life and the spirit and the life force of the school and the energy. And it's you know, I look forward to doing it and continuing it for many years, definitely. And I thank you, 8th graders, and everyone, but you guys were amazing. And I really appreciate it. And seriously, your questions were really amazing. You should all be very proud of yourselves in so many ways. And this, for me, on this Friday morning, February 4th, was just another opportunity for me to witness the beauty and the things that go on at the school. So I'm just glad that, you know, I could be a part of it. So I say thank you and muchísimas gracias for everything.
Thank you so much, Michael. You're a big part of all we do. Take good care.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you guys at the school soon. Definitely. All right. Thank you again.